Tonight, we're descending into some of the most dangerous places on Earth. Not mountains, not deserts, but underwater caves. Places where sunlight never reaches. Places where the darkness is absolute. Places where the water is cold and still. Places where humans have ventured and sometimes never returned. Cave diving is one of the most extreme and dangerous activities humans undertake. It combines the danger of diving with the claustrophobia of caves. Divers must navigate through tight passages with limited visibility. They must manage their air supply carefully. They must stay oriented in complete three-dimensional darkness. They must contend with nitrogen narcosis, a state of altered consciousness that occurs at depth. One mistake can be fatal, and in a cave, even a small mistake can quickly become catastrophic. But this is not a story meant to terrify you. It's a story about human curiosity and determination. It's a story about the desire to explore, even when exploration is dangerous. It's a story about the desire to push boundaries and discover what lies in the deepest, darkest places. It's a story about the lessons we learn from tragedy. It's a story about the incredible things humans can accomplish when we push ourselves to the limits. Close your eyes. Let yourself descend into the underwater darkness. Let yourself experience the claustrophobia and wonder of cave diving. Let yourself contemplate what drives humans to venture into the most dangerous places on Earth. Let yourself drift into sleep knowing that humans are explorers and adventurers at heart, and that sometimes that adventurous spirit costs us dearly. We begin our journey in 1989 in South Africa, in a place called Bushman's Hole. This is one of the most dangerous cave systems in the world. The cave descends to extreme depths. The passages are tight and complex. The water is cold and dark. The cave is like a vertical shaft descending into the underworld. On June 17, 1989, a cave diver named David Shaw prepared for one of the most dangerous dives ever attempted. Shaw was an experienced diver, but what he was about to attempt would test every limit of his skill and courage. 2 weeks earlier, another diver named Dion Dreyer had died in Bushman's Hole. Dreyer had descended to an extreme depth, 283 meters below the surface. At this depth, the pressure is crushing. The nitrogen in a diver's lungs becomes toxic. The mind becomes confused and impaired. Dion Dreyer had died at this depth, trapped in the cave. Dreyer's body remained in the cave. No one had recovered it. The cave was too dangerous. The depth was too extreme. Most divers would have left the body there, accepting that once someone dies in such a place, they cannot be recovered. But David Shaw refused to accept this. Shaw and Dreyer had been friends. Shaw knew that if the situation were reversed, he would want someone to try to recover his body. So Shaw decided to attempt the most dangerous dive of his life. Shaw prepared meticulously. He planned the dive down to the smallest detail. He calculated his air requirements. He planned his decompression stops. He planned the exact route he would take. He knew that any miscalculation could kill him, just as it had killed Dreyer. On the day of the dive, Shaw entered the water. He began descending into the darkness. As he descended, the pressure increased. The temperature dropped. The darkness became absolute. 100 meters, the light from the surface was completely gone. Shaw relied on his flashlight and his training. He navigated through the cave passages, following them downward. 200 meters, nitrogen narcosis began to affect his mind. His thoughts became sluggish. His movements became slow and careful. Everything became harder, but he continued. At 283 meters, Shaw found Dreyer's body. In the cold, deep water, the body was preserved. Shaw carefully retrieved it. He held it and began his ascent. The ascent was the most dangerous part. At extreme depths, a diver's body is saturated with nitrogen. The ascent must be extremely slow to allow the nitrogen to safely exit the body. Decompression stops at various depths are mandatory. A diver must wait at each stop, breathing, allowing time for the nitrogen to be expelled. Shaw had to make multiple decompression stops. He had to wait in the darkness. He had to manage his air supply. He had to maintain consciousness despite the nitrogen still in his system. But something went wrong during the ascent. The exact details are unclear. Shaw's air may have run out. His mind may have been too confused by residual nitrogen narcosis to function properly. He may have made a navigation error in the darkness. Some equipment malfunction may have occurred. What is known is that David Shaw never made it out of the cave alive. He died at depth, while attempting to bring back Dreyer's body. His body remained in Bushman's Hole, alongside Dreyer's. Years later, other divers would attempt to recover both bodies. These dives were nearly as dangerous as Shaw's original attempt. Divers would descend to these extreme depths, push the boundaries of what the human body can endure, and retrieve the bodies of their fallen comrades. Bushman's Hole stands as a monument to the dangers of cave diving. It shows what can happen when humans venture into places where the margins for error are virtually non-existent. It shows the price some people are willing to pay to honor their fallen friend. We move forward in time to Bozeman's Cut, another cave system in South Africa. This cave is also extremely deep and extremely dangerous. The cave descends to 283 meters, the same depth as Bushman's Hole, where David Shaw died. On September 20th, 1993, a diver named Dion Dreyer, yes, the same Dion Dreyer who would later die in Bushman's Hole, began a dive in Bozeman's Cut. Dreyer was experienced, but he was pushing himself to the absolute limits of what was possible in cave diving. Dreyer descended into the cave. He passed through the passages, going deeper and deeper. As he descended, the pressure increased exponentially. At 283 meters, the pressure is 29 times greater than at the surface. A diver's body is compressed. The density of the air being breathed becomes extreme. At these depths, nitrogen narcosis becomes severe. Nitrogen narcosis is an altered state of consciousness caused by the high pressure of nitrogen in a diver's lungs. At shallow depths, nitrogen narcosis feels like being slightly drunk. At extreme depths, it feels like being profoundly intoxicated. A diver's thoughts become confused. Their judgment becomes impaired. They may forget why they are diving. They may forget how to operate their equipment. They may become paralyzed by confusion. Dion Dreyer's body remained in Bozeman's Cut. It was never recovered. He is still there, in the darkness, at the extreme depth where he lost his way. The tragedy of Dion Dreyer is that he died alone, in complete darkness, lost and confused. He was an experienced diver who understood the risks. But even experienced divers can become victims of nitrogen narcosis and cave disorientation. We move to Mexico, to a cave system called Pozo Azul. On April 5, 1997, one of the world's greatest cave divers, Sheck Exley, began his descent into Pozo Azul. Sheck Exley was legendary in the cave diving community. He had made more deep cave dives than almost anyone alive. He had pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible. He had survived dives that should have killed him. He had more experience and skill than almost any other cave diver on the planet. But Pozo Azul was exceptionally dangerous. Exley was attempting to reach a depth of 311 meters, deeper than any human had ever gone in a cave while breathing air. He was attempting to explore a cavern system that had never been fully explored. He was pushing the absolute limits of human capability. Exley was not attempting this dive recklessly. He had planned it meticulously. He had calculated the exact air requirements. He had planned the exact decompression schedule. He had mapped out the route he would take. Every detail had been considered. But the cave was so deep, so dark, so extreme, that even perfect planning might not be enough. Exley began his descent. He navigated through the passages. As he went deeper, the pressure increased. At 311 meters, the pressure is over 32 times greater than at the surface. At this pressure, nitrogen narcosis becomes nearly unbearable. Even the most experienced diver becomes barely functional. Exley continued deeper. He was attempting to reach an underwater spring, a freshwater source that feeds the cave. He wanted to explore it. He wanted to push the boundaries of human exploration. But at his maximum depth, something went wrong. The exact details are unclear. Sheck Exley became disoriented. His air supply became depleted. He attempted to ascend, but the ascent was extremely difficult. Sheck Exley was found dead in Pozo Azul, at an extreme depth in one of the most dangerous caves in the world. Despite all his experience and skill, despite perfect planning, despite his legendary ability to survive extreme dives, Exley could not overcome the dangers of Pozo Azul. The death of Sheikh Exley shocked the cave diving community. Exley was someone everyone believed could accomplish anything underwater. His death showed that no matter how experienced you are, no matter how well you prepare, the cave can still kill you. The depths are still dangerous. The darkness can still claim you. We moved to a cave system in Australia called Devil's Den. In 2005, a cave diver named Tom and his team were exploring Devil's Den. Tom was an experienced diver, but Devil's Den is particularly dangerous because of nitrogen narcosis at extreme depths and the tight, confusing passages. As Tom descended, he became disoriented. He lost contact with his team. In the darkness and confusion, he became hopelessly lost. Other members of the team attempted a rescue, but the cave was too dangerous. They could not find Tom. They had to surface to save their own lives. Tom's body was never recovered. He died in Devil's Den in the darkness and cold. We moved to 2010, to a cave system in Florida. A diver named Lowell Kelly descended into a cave system. Kelly was exploring the cave, pushing deeper than the cave had ever been explored before. But at depth, Kelly became disoriented. He couldn't navigate through the tight passages. His air supply began to run out. He died in the cave, unable to find his way back to safety. We moved to 2014 to a cave system in Australia. A team of cave divers was exploring the cave system when one of the divers, a man named Andrew, became separated from the group. Andrew was lost in the cave. His team searched for him, but they could not find him. The cave system is so extensive and so complex that even with searching, locating a lost diver is nearly impossible. Andrew's air ran out. He died in the darkness in a place his team could not reach him. We moved to 2013 to a cave system in Greece. A team of cave divers was exploring Polyroni Cave when one of the divers, a man named Demetrios, became disoriented. Demetrios lost his way in the cave. He couldn't navigate back to the entrance. His team searched for him, but they couldn't find him in the darkness and confusion of the cave system. Demetrios' body was eventually found in the cave, at a depth where nitrogen narcosis would have been severe, where his thinking would have been profoundly impaired. We moved to a cave system in Mexico called Bushman's Hole of the Caribbean. Wait, we already discussed Bushman's Hole, but there are many caves, and many of them have claimed lives. 1999, a cave diver named Mark was exploring a cave system in Mexico. The cave was deep and dangerous. As Mark descended, he became disoriented by nitrogen narcosis. Mark lost his way. He couldn't find the passage that led back to the surface. He became lost in the three-dimensional maze of the cave. His air ran out. He died in the darkness. We moved to 2011, to a cave system in New Zealand. A cave diver named Peter descended into the cave. Peter was experienced, but the cave was extremely deep and extremely dangerous. As Peter descended, something went wrong with his equipment. His air supply became compromised. He couldn't ascend because the decompression requirements were extreme. Peter died in the cave, unable to complete his decompression, unable to reach the surface. We moved to 2015, to a cave system in Taiwan. A team of cave divers was exploring the cave system. One of the divers became separated from the group. The separated diver was lost in the cave. The team searched, but they couldn't locate him. The cave was too dark. The passages were too confusing. By the time they found him, it was too late. He was dead. We moved to 2008, to a cave system in Florida. A diver named James was exploring the cave with a partner, but James and his partner became separated. James was lost in the cave. His partner searched for him, but James had ventured into passages that were too tight and too confusing to navigate. James became hopelessly disoriented. James's air ran out. He died in the cave. His partner had to surface alone, without him. We moved to 2012, to a cave system in Europe. A team of cave divers was exploring. One of the divers, named Klaus, ventured too deep. The nitrogen narcosis became severe. Klaus became confused and disoriented. He lost track of his air supply. He lost his way in the cave. When his team realized he wasn't returning, they began searching. But Klaus was already dead, lost in the darkness at an extreme depth, where nitrogen narcosis had rendered him incapable of rational thought. The common thread through all these incidents is the same. Divers venture into caves. The caves are dark. The passages are tight and confusing. The depths are extreme. Nitrogen narcosis impairs thinking. Disorientation occurs. Divers become lost. Air supplies run out, and divers die in the darkness. Cave diving is inherently dangerous. The risks are extreme. Even the most experienced divers can become victims. Even perfect preparation may not be enough. We move to 2018, to a cave system in Thailand called Tham Luang. In July 2018, a soccer team and their coach entered the cave for exploration. The team consisted of 12 boys and their coach. The boys were exploring the cave when water levels suddenly rose. Flash flooding in the area caused the water to rise rapidly. The team became trapped in the cave, unable to exit because the passages were flooded. The boys and their coach were stuck deep in the cave, in the darkness with no way out. Search and rescue teams from around the world mobilized to attempt to rescue. The rescue operation was extraordinarily complex. Divers had to navigate through tight flooded passages to reach the trapped team. The water was dark and murky. The passages were extremely tight. The danger was extreme. Over the course of days, divers managed to reach the team. The team had taken shelter on a dry ledge deep in the cave. They were alive, but they needed to be brought out. The rescue involved bringing divers into the cave, each carrying one child or the coach, and navigating back through the flooded passages. It was extraordinarily dangerous. One of the rescue divers, a former Thai Navy SEAL named Saman Kunan, died during the rescue operation, presumably from an oxygen supply malfunction while transporting air to the trapped team. Eventually, after days of dangerous rescue operations, all 12 boys and their coach were brought out of the cave alive. It was a miracle. It was considered impossible that all of them could survive such an ordeal, but they did. The Thai cave rescue became famous worldwide. It showed the incredible courage of rescue divers. It showed that even in the most extreme circumstances, rescue is possible. It showed that humans can overcome seemingly impossible odds when we work together. But it also cost Saman Kunan his life. He died bringing air to the trapped team. He died in the darkness, doing the right thing, attempting to save lives. As we contemplate these incidents, we understand what cave diving represents. It represents the human desire to explore, even when exploration is dangerous. It represents the human determination to push boundaries, to go deeper, to discover what lies in the darkest places. Cave diving also represents something darker. It represents the capacity for humans to die, to lose their way, to become disoriented and confused, to run out of air in a place where rescue is nearly impossible. The people who have died in caves were not reckless. Most of them were experienced. Most of them understood the risks. They were people who loved diving and loved exploration. They were people who were willing to accept the risks because they valued what they could discover and accomplish. We contemplate nitrogen narcosis, one of the most dangerous aspects of cave diving. Nitrogen narcosis is caused by the high partial pressure of nitrogen at depth. As pressure increases, nitrogen becomes increasingly concentrated in a diver's lungs. This high concentration affects the nervous system. It alters consciousness. Nitrogen narcosis is sometimes called rapture of the deep because at extreme depths it can cause a sense of euphoria. But with the euphoria comes impaired judgment, confusion, and loss of consciousness. The exact mechanisms of nitrogen narcosis are not fully understood. Scientists know it happens. They know it becomes more severe with increasing depth. They know it can make a diver incapable of rational thought. Divers at extreme depths may forget what they're doing. They may forget how to operate their equipment. They may believe they're invincible and take dangerous risks. They may become paralyzed by confusion. There is no completely effective treatment for nitrogen narcosis except descending to shallower depths. A diver suffering from severe nitrogen narcosis must ascend. This reduces the pressure on the lungs, reduces the concentration of nitrogen, and allows the mind to function more normally. But in a cave, ascending may not be possible. A diver lost in a cave cannot ascend because the passages may be blocked. A diver may not know which direction is up. A diver may be so confused by nitrogen narcosis that they can't function well enough to navigate. This is why nitrogen narcosis is so dangerous in caves. It's dangerous anywhere, but in a cave it can be fatal. We contemplate equipment failure. Divers rely on equipment. They rely on air tanks that contain their breathing gas. They rely on regulators that deliver the air. They rely on depth gauges and timers. They rely on lights and navigation equipment. Equipment can fail, an air tank can rupture, a regulator can malfunction, a light can fail, leaving a diver in complete darkness. A pressure gauge can fail, leaving a diver uncertain about their air supply. In a cave, equipment failure can be catastrophic. A diver needs to know how much air they have. A diver needs light. A diver needs their equipment to function properly. Some cave diving incidents occur because of equipment failure. A diver loses their light and becomes disoriented in the darkness. A diver's air supply fails and they run out of air. A diver's equipment malfunctions in a way that makes it impossible to continue. Modern equipment is tested extensively. It's designed to be reliable, but nothing is 100% reliable. Equipment can still fail. We contemplate decompression sickness, also known as the bends. When a diver breathes air at depth, nitrogen dissolves into the body's tissues. As the diver ascends, the pressure decreases, and the nitrogen comes out of solution. Normally this nitrogen is expelled through the lungs as the diver breathes. But if a diver ascends too quickly, the nitrogen comes out of solution too fast. Nitrogen bubbles form in the body's tissues and bloodstream. These bubbles can cause pain, paralysis, and even death. To prevent decompression sickness, divers must ascend slowly. They must make decompression stops at various depths, allowing time for nitrogen to be safely expelled. In a cave, decompression can be extremely difficult. A diver at extreme depth may have spent considerable air just descending and exploring. They may not have enough air to make all the required decompression stops. A diver may be forced to choose between remaining in a difficult, uncomfortable position making decompression stops, or ascending quickly and risking decompression sickness. Either choice is dangerous. Some cave divers have died from decompression sickness. They either ran out of air before completing decompression, or they became incapacitated by decompression sickness during their ascent. We contemplate the psychology of cave diving. Divers who venture into caves are adventurous people. They're willing to accept risks. They're willing to push themselves to the limits. But there's a psychological tendency in adventurous people to minimize risk, to believe that their skill will protect them, to believe that their luck will hold, to believe that they're special, that bad things happen to other people, not to them. This psychological tendency, combined with the extreme challenge and allure of cave diving, can lead divers to take risks they shouldn't take, to venture deeper than is safe, to venture into passages they're not qualified to explore, to push the boundaries too far. Many cave diving incidents occur not because of bad luck or equipment failure, but because a diver has voluntarily taken a risk they shouldn't have taken. We contemplate what drives people to cave dive. Cave diving is not necessary. It doesn't provide food or shelter. It doesn't advance society in any obvious way. It's purely a choice that people make to challenge themselves and explore. What is it about the human spirit that drives us to do dangerous things?
Is it about exploration that appeals to us so deeply that we're willing to risk our lives? Perhaps it's curiosity. Perhaps we want to know what's there. We want to see places no human has ever seen. We want to discover secrets that the earth has hidden. Perhaps it's the desire to push ourselves, to discover what we're capable of, to test our limits and see how far we can go. Perhaps it's the desire to be alive, to feel intensely, to experience something beyond the ordinary. Whatever the reason, cave diving represents something fundamental about human nature. We're explorers, we're adventurers, we're willing to risk everything for the chance to discover something new. We contemplate the cost of exploration. Exploration has always required sacrifice. Columbus sailed across an ocean and many of his crew died. Astronauts have died reaching for space, mountain climbers have died reaching for summits, and cave divers have died exploring underwater caves. These deaths are tragedies, they're losses, they're people who took risks and lost. But they're also part of the story of human exploration. They're part of the price we pay for discovering new places, for pushing boundaries, for expanding human knowledge. We can debate whether the risks are worth it. We can question whether dying in a cave is a good way to spend a life. But we cannot deny that some people believe the risks are worth it. Some people believe that exploration and discovery justify the danger. We contemplate resilience and acceptance. People who cave dive understand that they might die.
They sign waivers acknowledging the danger. They accept that there's a possibility they won't return. This acceptance is remarkable. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid danger, trying to minimize risk, trying to extend their lives as long as possible. Cave divers accept danger. They accept that death is possible. They accept that they might not return, and they dive anyway. This is a form of resilience. It's an acceptance of human mortality combined with a determination to live fully, to explore, to discover. We contemplate the beauty of caves. Underwater caves are otherworldly. They're beautiful in a way that surface caves can never be. The water is clear and still. Light refracts through the water in ways that are magical. The cave formations are ancient and alien. To a cave diver, these underwater caves represent the apex of beauty and exploration. They're worth any risk. They're worth any danger. Some people might say that cave divers are crazy, that they have a death wish, that they're reckless and stupid. But cave divers would say they're simply alive. They're pursuing something they love. They're experiencing beauty that most people will never experience. As we drift into sleep, we contemplate these stories of cave diving. We contemplate the darkness. We contemplate the pressure. We contemplate the danger and the allure. We contemplate the people who have died in caves. We contemplate their courage and their determination. We contemplate the choices they made and the prices they paid. We contemplate the human desire to explore, even when exploration is dangerous. We contemplate the drive to push boundaries and discover what lies in the darkest, deepest places. We contemplate mortality. We contemplate the fact that humans are fragile, that death comes for us all, sometimes in unexpected ways, sometimes in ways we never anticipated. We contemplate the water, the darkness, the pressure, the silence. We contemplate exploration and discovery. We contemplate the value of pushing ourselves to the limits. We contemplate what drives us to do dangerous things. Sleep knowing that exploration continues. Cave divers still descend into caves. They still risk their lives to discover what lies in the darkness. Some will die. Some will make it back. Sleep knowing that humans are remarkable creatures. We explore, we discover, we push boundaries. We're willing to face danger to experience something transcendent. Sleep knowing that caves exist in darkness, that there are places in the world that are beautiful and dangerous, that there are mysteries waiting to be discovered. Sleep knowing that death is part of life, that some people choose to live fully, accepting the risks, pursuing their passion, even when passion might lead to death. Sleep peacefully, knowing that the darkness of caves is matched by the light of human courage and determination. Sleep knowing that cave diving will continue, that humans will keep descending into the depths, that exploration and discovery will persist despite the danger, despite the deaths. Good night from the Deep Sleep Channel. Sleep well.